What? Oh yeah, get the butt. Get the butt. All right, you hunk a cat. Yeah, little buddy. You little buddy. Now, monkeys on the floor. The cat is starring tonight. Welcome aboard. It's Tuesday. It's episode number 6,525,000,000 of Houston with Problems. So, Tesla absolutely tanked earnings. Like they lost $2 billion in revenue. Profits down 71%. Earnings was supposed to be 41 cents a share. Came in at 27 cents a share. If it wasn't for the ability to sell carbon credits, they wouldn't have a profit this quarter. And the carbon credits they sold are about 500 to a billion less than they sell in most quarters. That's because they're selling fewer cars because no one wants their cars. Model 3, Model Y, they're down 12%. The Cybertruck is down 24%. Production, they've slowed down production, so production's down like between 16 and 18% on their cars. And the stock price did great. Why? Well, two reasons. This is what Elon did last year too. Bullshit. Basically, last year the earnings weren't spectacular. They'd missed as well. And Elon's like, just wait. On August 8th, I'm going to reveal the robotaxi. And then August 8th passed and he didn't reveal the robotaxi. And then they finally did reveal the robotaxi sometime later, along with a whole bunch of Optimus robots. He's like, look at all those AI robots. And the robots were actually controlled by guys at a call center in Orange County who were just like using joysticks and talking into microphones. Anywho, this time around, what he did was he did two things. He claimed that robotaxis will be available by fall, and you'll be able to sleep in them while they drive you places. Guaranteed. Not happening. Two, I'm sick of politics. I'm going to go back and run my company. And everyone's like, oh, yay, the moron's going to go back to his company. So the stock price is like going gangbusters, even though sales worldwide are still going to plummet, and the company is probably 1 quarter away from no longer making a profit. So the stock went yoo-hoo on that one. Bessant today told everyone like, hey, we're negotiating with China on a trade deal, and the stock market's like, oh yeah. And it turns out he was like, I'm lying. No, we don't actually have any negotiations going on, but we could if we wanted to. After the market closed, Trump had a press conference where he went bibbledy, said he's not planning on firing Pete Hegseth or Jerome Powell, even though he's going to fire both of them. What else happened, the monkey? Hey, fat cat, you're in first chair right now. Okay, number one. Yeah, GameStop did all right today. No, you guys will yell at me with things. I'm sorry, I launched this show too early. You folks are like, there's gonna be so many chats I gotta get through. Okay. Turn it off. There we go. Okay, Lone Wolf was first. Good job. Says 54. Tesla puts seemed obvious. Next earnings might finally do it. On the other hand, GME is fighting like a monkey in a straitjacket. Can't keep it down. Truth. It's seems like the floor in GME seems to be 27-ish, somewhere around there. Brent Wells, up BBY Nolabs. Nothing new. Summer, sorry. Or Sommer. Do you think GME can hit 100 before January? I got 100 call options. Can it? Yes. Will it? That will be up to Ryan Cohen and the board. If anything, those $100 call options, they can be worth quite a bit if we do get any zippy pops like we did last May and June, where stock price goes up to like $80. Those calls can be worth probably $500 to $700 if that happens each. So it doesn't have to hit 100 for them to be worth a good chunk of money. if you got 100 call off, 100, you have 100 100s, you might get a good chunk of money out of that. If that's what we do in May. But yeah, if Ryan Cohen doesn't dilute and we get ourselves a good run one of these weeks, then yeah, we get Gamma going, anything's possible. Snertler. Oh, sorry. I skipped Trey third. Trey the third. One sec. Stock market still defying gravity to understand how it's even still possible. Basically, the dollar's worthless. So I think any green you see in the stock market at this point is basically inflation. So the dollar is losing value against everything. No one wants our bonds. They're selling them off. The 30 year is now approaching 5%. The 10 year is basically at 5%. The yen is now below, or I should say, the yen is so strong that it's now below 140, which is what caused the massive sell-off back in August. Was those yen carry trades when the yen got too strong. Now the yen is way too strong compared to the dollar, meaning people need to sell their bonds for whatever they can, take that cash, close out their loans in yen before it gets worse. And they're not getting top dollar for those bonds. So there's likely margin calls going out to a lot of folks who are involved in these yen carry trades. And, you know, there's $7 to $20 trillion tied up in the yen carry trades. 7 to 20 trillion. That's basically the US GDP equivalent tied up in yen carry trades. So if they're stuck selling off bonds and blue chips to pay back their loans in Japan, or they're forced to sell those things off, it will make any of the red days we've had in the last month just pale in comparison to what can happen with those yen carry trades reorganizing or reshuffling or closing out, whatever they're going to do with them. So, yeah, the stock market is basically hopium at this point, and the fumes are running low. Okay, now Snort Alert. Oh, Houston. I'm thinking about far out puts on gold. Thoughts? Thanks in advance. I think gold, at least in US dollars, is going to go much, much higher. Because as the dollar weakens against gold, it's going to take more of those dollars to buy gold. It may not be that way for like euros where you are. You know, it going up in euros may be slim compared to what it goes up in dollars just because no one wants dollars anymore. But yeah, I think it's a little too early to short gold because normally when you have a big old crash, gold peaks about 2 years later. It's like its final peak. So we had crashed 2008, 2009. Gold peaked in 2011, right? So now is people are running to gold because they don't want to run to US dollars. So it's getting a little more behind it. Because normally when you got global markets collapsing, everyone rushes to US dollars and US Treasury bonds, and those go up. And that's not happening. So, because we pissed everyone off. So, I would, if you're going to short it, maybe short it in euros rather than US dollars. And it's, probably wiser. Murph from Turf Studios. I knew I should have bought Tesla calls. My GME $26 calls for this Friday are still hanging in there. Should be doing all right. I sold my GME calls this morning and bought SPY calls, and those went up quite a bit. And I was like, all right, that's enough. Bessant just announced that he lied to everybody. Let's crash this thing. And then I bought puts, and those ended up doing really well. And I looked away for a moment, and then went right back up again, and yeah. So my graph made an M today. That's what happened. Taco Sam Hasten. I live in Canada and I was wondering, when do you think the housing market will crash? I want to buy my own place. Excuse me. Started graphs since 6 this morning. I want to buy my own place. I know it will crash eventually. I'm just wondering how long it will take. Canada may be an interesting bird. But like global markets, yes, they're going to have problems. The Canadian real estate market is way too stacked. But here's the problem, is that you're going to have a refugee crisis in Canada if Trump remains president. Because people here are going to try and go there. And that's going to take up more of your housing. So I honestly don't know when the Canadian market will crash. It probably should. I mean, they probably should have interest rates still screaming high to keep prices down and inflation down. Oh. I gotta stop this staring at graphs at 6 a.m. thing. I'm very yawny right now. I apologize. Should have this as like a Mexican Coca-Cola or something. All right. Snort alert, what are you using? How likely is it that Chinese government will force its citizens to pull their overseas investments soon? I think they're already doing that in places like Florida. So if we look, we can bring up, let's do Zillow.com. All right, we're going to go to, Orlando. Florida, single family homes. Boom. Okay, we're in the Orlando area here. We're going to look at ones that are above $1 million. Wait, I'm in rent? Oh, no, I'm for sale, dude. No, I want rent. Psh. Okay, minimum. We're going to go above $1 million. Let's go above 1.25. All right. So you see these clusters where these $1 million homes are? There are a whole bunch of Chinese nationals who bought these homes in and around the Orlando area. And after the election, it's surmised that an edict came out from the Chinese government saying Chinese citizens sell those homes. And a whole bunch of them went on the market all at once, all owned by Chinese nationals, and they can't sell. You can get one as a castle here. That is ridiculous. Huh. That is silly. Oh my. Oh my. That is... I'm distracted now by the castle. That is... that's silly. That is real silly. Okay, anyway. Back to search. And a lot of these are Chinese nationals selling these homes, basically all at once, all at the same time. And in Florida in general, the housing market is really slumping hard. Zillow originally called for I think 2.5% rise in home sale prices. And because of real estate in Florida, Texas, and just the Southeast in general, they're now calling for a contraction of like 1.5% in home prices because, well, people are going to be A, forced to start selling, and B, the Chinese are selling off a lot. There's a lot of people in Florida now too, especially people of Hispanic roots, who are like, oh my goodness, the Gestapo's here and they're targeting us. And Tampa, lots of hurricane damage. Up north in the Panhandle, lots of hurricane damage. All the immigrant laborers have vominos, and none of the damage is getting repaired right now because there's no construction workers to do it. So we have a whole bunch of home sales going on, especially some big multi-million-dollar properties. Places like Coral Gables and Miami Beach, and like there's a lot of Canadians who have second homes that put them up for sale too, because they used to come down and be snowbirds and hang out in Florida. Now they're like, no, fuck you, America, and they're putting their houses on the market because they're patriotic to their country. And yeah, so yeah, I do think that there might come a moment where the Chinese government is like, divest of everything, screw these guys, and they just will. So yeah. Welcome to a trade war. China's an authoritarian government and can tell their citizens to do whatever they need, because if you don't do what the Chinese government tells you to do, you get disappeared. And that's what Trump wants in America. He wants to be able to tell people what to do, and if they don't do it, he disappears them. And they've already disappeared people. There are some immigrants here legally, either through asylum, green cards, visas, etc., that have been seized by ICE, didn't show up on the deportation list. No one can tell them where they are. They're just gone. So Yeah, the disappearing is actually happening right now. And that sucks. True Seeker, Tesla crushing earnings bag holders. I mean, the price is up quite a bit based on Elon's lies. T-Bolts, Houston. Haven't been able to watch your podcast for the past few months due to a new job. Can you please explain what is happening at Nolabs? I am down a ton. My guess is that there's a giant short distort campaign going on, and beyond that, I mean, Nolabs needs to do something to get people to notice their thing. I suggested that they do a 60 minutes. They go on 60 minutes. They profile how they're going to revolutionize diabetic care in America with their fancy new technology. They show the other ways they can use it. And then 60 minutes goes, oh, wow. Then watch their stock price just whoop. That's what they should do. I know that Nolabs is doing an audit or an assessment of their patents. And it's coming out to like hundreds of millions of dollars what those patents are worth. And so anyone who manages to buy the company for like the $2 million that it's currently trading for will get a screaming deal. And so I wouldn't doubt if there's some big players out there who like, we want this tech, keep destroying their stock. And that might be what's happening. Striker 747, your thoughts on S&P making new all-time highs? Insane. I still think BTC will come back down to 5K. What are your thoughts? Well, BTC launched today, absolutely flew, basically because Bitcoin got their man at the head of the SEC. He got sworn in today, and you know it's at 97,000 or something ridiculous like that. Where were you at? When was the last time I opened my phone to look at that? It is at 92,000. Okay. So it flew all the way up to 93. So it went from 88 earlier today. So basically went up $5,000 or so today. Based on the fact that a pro Bitcoin dude is now in charge of the SEC. And people are like, oh, yay, you know, this guy's awesome. But, you know, he's not going to do any regulating or enforcing of anything. That's why he's there. But yeah, can he go back down to 5K? If the market collapses, meaning if these Japanese carry trades nuke the market, right, then a lot of hedge funds, a lot of family funds will have to sell off all of their crypto holdings to meet liquidity requirements for their margin. If they have to sell off all of their crypto, there's going to be a discount there. There's going to be a big giant crash in crypto. It's really hard to gauge how much of that's going to get sold and how much of that is now owned by like ETFs and stuff, and like specific Bitcoin investing groups like MicroStrategy, because 97% of Bitcoin is in 1% of wallets, so it is the most concentrated. I mean, technically it's not a security, but it's a security. Most concentrated security basically on Earth. 97% of stocks aren't in 1% of holders. 97% of real estate isn't in 1% of holders. But crypto, Bitcoin specifically, yep. So those folks may be able to kind of tweak things a bit. Like if they know that there's going to be some huge crashes because these guys have to sell out, you might see US dollar Tether coin mint several $1 billion in Tether coin to buy it all up. Sort of like doing a stock buyback. To keep the prices from crashing too hard. Or maybe all these dudes want a discount and they'll let them crash and burn and then they'll scoop everything up at the bottom. But yeah. And Striker747, thank you for being awesome, Houston. Smartest guy I know. And Monkey Butt is the most chilled out buddy anyone could know. You are a good man, Houston. You say it how it is. Thank you. What about this little loaf right here? Huh? This little black hole. Yeah. He is the world's most uncomfortable cat. He loves to sleep on your shins, dig his little elbows in there. And man, is it hard to sleep with this guy. So that's another reason why I'm probably yawning, is because all last night he's like, can I please just put my elbows into the shin bone? And I'd kick him off and try to sleep. And he'd come and just get right in there again. I love you still, though. Shitty little cat. Dribble you like a basketball. Another moth. Spy going crazy right now, of course, after I close my call. Shake my head. Yeah, I mean, it's flying. Everything's flying, basically, for essentially no reason whatsoever. Bitcoin's at 92. Was at 93. How's GME doing? GME's at 27.82. It's trying to hit 28. Got real. Oh, it bounced off 28.03. So it did manage to cross 28 earlier during after hours. And what we got for some of these blue chips? Yes, these blue chips are stoked. The bank stocks are all flying right now on no news, like none. Green. Everything is green today. Everything. Tesla's up to 248. Like, I'm trying to find something red today. Anything red? Scroll. Dollar General briefly was red, then shot back up again. That's the only one I'm seeing on my list here. Oh, Highcroft Mining. Highcroft Mining's in the red, and SST's in the red. Everything else on my watch list is green. Everything. Every damn thing. Get down here, the indexes, and then all of our reverse indexes are in the red. EVXY, DRV, VIXY, Tesla Z. Yeah, they're all very red. SPY's flying, dude. SPY is flying. 537 after hours. Oh, based on what? Like, there's no actual news coming out that's like, oh, everything's okay. So we're dead cat bouncing right now, I think. Tane one that says puts on Tesla, FLMO. Well, I've been up buying some inverse Tesla calls before close because they're really cheap. And they aren't due until May 16th. So I got like almost a month for a drop one of these days to get my money back out of it. But yeah, Tesla's going gangbusters based upon Elon basically just lying to everyone saying that robotaxis are coming. Robotaxis are not coming. Tesla full self-driving is a death trap that is not good enough to be trusted on its own. It just isn't. And the robotaxis don't have the technology involved to keep people safe because it's expensive and they don't want to pay for it. So they're trying to use an entire visual-only system when they should have LiDAR and radar and other methods to look for obstacles and measure distances and maintain lanes and things like that. And they just won't pay for it. So they can tweak the algorithm as much as they want, but if it only works 99.9% of the time, that means one of every 1,000 people when they get in a car, it's going to crash. And that is not a good number. That's like the type of numbers it's worse than what you had in the 1920s when we had the highest highway deaths per mile driven of any era. Yeah, it's just not safe. So, yeah. None of them off. This market is ridiculous. Yes, it is. Black Udon, Houston. Needs fixed schedule time to not say 10:30. 10:30? How does it say 10:30? Weird. I don't know what I did to do that. First day productions. Sold a GME call for over $600. I can buy 3 more calls just out of the money for mid-May. I think I'm starting to get it. Good job. Striker says GME just broke 28. It did. It went bing bong. So there you go. MS Houston. If the axis of evil includes US, was it all a ploy to weaken, monetize, monopolize the EU? Definitely a ploy to try and weaken the EU. If I'm Vladimir Putin, right, and I'm taking over Ukraine, and I've got my eyes set on reestablishing what had been the USSR and more. He wants more than just USSR, right? So that means he wants all the Warsaw Pact countries. He wants Czechoslovakia. He wants Yugoslavia. He wants Bulgaria, Romania, Moldova, Lithuania, Estonia. Like, they wants Latvia, wants them all back together again, so that Russian everything maintains control, and then could be knocking on the door of Western Europe, which is where the real money is, right? So Putin is like, I can't take America head on because America is the most powerful military in the world, and one of their little F-35 jets can fly across my country and vaporize everything, and I'll never see it. So what do I have to do that's asymmetrical, right? Because you can't meet them symmetrically, can't meet them head on, because they've got, way more submarines, way more aircraft carriers, way more jets. I mean, I think like the third largest air force in the world is the U.S. Coast Guard. Like, that's how many planes America has. We have air superiority coming out of every hole in our body. So they go asymmetric, and what you do with asymmetric is essentially you weaken the will of the people. And the ways you can do that is you kill them, but you don't kill them directly. Get them sort of to kill themselves. So you put out a whole bunch of things like anti-vaccine propaganda. And most anti-vaccine propaganda dating back to before COVID was coming out of Russian bot farms and Russian troll accounts. And these guys are spreading anti-vax stuff all over the place. You can trace it right back. I mean, there was a study done. We'll see if the NIH even has it listed anymore, because I know they're closing all that stuff. Russian anti-vaccine propaganda, 2018, I think it was published. Here we go. Let's see if the Institute of Health has the article. Oh, it's still up. There we go. Oh my, it's one of those things you think they would close. So this is 2018. Russian trolls use vaccine debate to sow discord, study finds. Published 2018. Twitter accounts that were used to meddle in the 2016 presidential election were also sent both pro and anti-vaccine messages, insulted parents. Basically, they got the fights going, so everyone would jump in on one side or the other, and then they could propagate the anti-vaccine rhetoric, which then got people being like, oh, vaccines are dangerous. And then all of a sudden they refuse to take vaccines, they're refusing to give them to their kids, and then, people die and get injured, right? And so when something like COVID comes along, you ramp that up. And you now have taken out, probably 2 million Americans just based upon this anti-vaccine rhetoric. Boom, weakened, right? And a whole bunch of other people are injured because, like, don't social distance, that's for pussies. So you get them infected, you get them getting COVID brain and long COVID and all this other stuff. Cool. You just inflicted a gigantic wound on your mortal enemy without ever firing a shot. You just had bot accounts and little dudes in, windowless rooms in St. Petersburg pounding away on a keyboard, pretending like they're, MAGA hero from Illinois or something. So you do stuff like this. You front a candidate who just so happens to want to do everything possible to destroy American hegemony. So if you piss off all your allies and all your trading partners, no one wants to do business with you, right? Boom. You just weakened the dollar of the United States. And if you convince them to get rid of all of their immigrants who do basically all the basal work, construction, agriculture, childcare, maintenance, like those things that keep everything running, and they do so at a giant discount compared to American-born people, then yeah, you're going to create food insecurity. You're going to destroy the ability to build, because 70% of construction workers are immigrants. Then they're all like, I'm out, right? They don't want to deal with this crap. If things are so bad here, then maybe they will go home, right? Or to where it's also bad. So like, or they just go into hiding, or they go to blue states where they think they might get some protection. But across the middle of the country and in the southeast, they're gone. Farmers are going bankrupt, right? You cut disaster funding. So everyone who had FEMA funding coming in for Hurricane Helene and the floods in Arkansas and Tennessee and Kentucky and tornadoes across the country, Donald Trump's like, no, we're not going to fund that anymore. No more FEMA for you. right? So now you got people who are going to be exposed to the elements. We're going to go bankrupt trying to like keep a roof over their families' heads, or be jobless for a very long period of time because their work got destroyed by a hurricane or floods, and they don't know when they're going to be able to go back to work, and they're going to be in this limbo of like, do I look for a new job? Do I not? I don't know, right? And then you destroy things like the National Weather Service and NOAA, then let you know that hurricanes are coming, and you fire a whole bunch of meteorologists and atmospheric scientists and climatologists, and you stop paying the leases on certain radar stations so that you don't have an ability of watching storm systems approach or to map them out, right? And then you cut the funding for building, new geosynchronous weather satellites so that when these ones inevitably fail, they won't be replaced by anything, and we won't be able to like watch the oceans to see where these storms are and what trajectories they're taking. It's you destroy the education system so that you can't make engineers and scientists and inventors and entrepreneurs and everything else, because they're not going to be able to have anywhere to go. So you destroy all the school systems, and you make the people who did graduate drown in debt so that they can't do anything with their education. These are really simple things to kind of vaporize an entire country. There's a serious brain drain coming for the United States. As educated scientists and engineers, 75% of folks who work in STEM are actively looking for work outside the country. We used to be like the destination for brainiacs. We would brain drain the rest of the world by paying scientists and engineers more than anyone. And now these scientists and engineers are losing their funding, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna get the fuck out of here, right? And you got Canada and the EU being like, come to us, we will take you back, right? So yeah, that's how you destroy a nation asymmetrically. So yeah, it is definitely the idea was at least to weaken the United States, and by weakening the United States, you weaken the resolve of NATO countries, right? And if NATO countries don't have the big 800-pound gorilla behind them anymore, which is America, then Putin can test invading a NATO country and seeing just like what kind of resolve is left. Especially if the United States is like, I'm on Russia's side. Why? Because Russia is claiming historical territory in Ukraine and taking it over, and right now Trump is like, well, I want to claim Canada, Greenland, and Panama. So why would I say you can't have that, Russia, when Trump wants to do the exact same war crimes that Putin's doing right now in those three locales? And China wants to take over Taiwan for exactly the same reasons. Huge chunk of the South China Sea for exactly the same reasons. Basically it's like we are in the biggest asshole timeline there is. So assholes dominate, or so it seems, right, Kitty? All cats are assholes. That's how it works. So yeah. But the EU is basically like they're pretty quick to the draw, being like, okay, we can't count the U.S. anymore, so fuck them. We'll do our own thing. And I wouldn't doubt if the EU ends up kind of kicking the U.S. out of NATO at this point, or sidelines them, or whatever. They're increasing their defense spending by like $1 trillion. They're ramping up factories like crazy because they know they're going to be on their own. They can't count on the juggernaut anymore, because the juggernaut is now like slurping on some Russian hoo-ha and playing for the wrong team right now. So yeah, it's like WWE wrestlers going from one side to the other, and all of a sudden be like, ha, tricked you. And that's where we are. So yeah. Jay Geyser, like, subscribe, turn off opening, feed the dog the good stuff. Thanks again for Reddit help. Any more ideas, rules for investor Bill of Rights? And know anyone who could write that up? Like a Trump executive order. I wonder if we could get that from his executive order. Not if my name's attached to it. They definitely won't do it if they're like, what? That commie? But if like somehow somebody who worked at the Heritage Foundation managed to slip that sucker in there, it would work. What did I do with the Investor Bill of Rights? I think I put it. Did I put it in a? I may have put it in a Google Drive. Let's see here. Did I name any of them? Who are you? Oh, you are the Investor Bill of Rights. I never gave you a name. Let's give you a name. Okay. Rename. No longer entitled document. Investor Bill of Rights. Ta-da! Okay, boom. So this is what I had in the Investor Bill of Rights so far. No naked short selling, no dark pools, no payment for order flow, no high frequency trading. Make the SEC have law enforcement powers. Make fines larger than the crime. Funds must list short positions just like they list long positions. DTC open book ledger to see how many shares actually exist. No swapping FTDs, failures to deliver. When a company goes bankrupt, this will result in automatic share recall broker accounting. Splits only when it will benefit shareholders. No share price requirements for main exchange listings. No one who's ever worked in private equity shall be allowed to work at a financial regulatory agency, and vice versa. If your company is trading on the U.S. market with a U.S. ticker, then headquarters operations and taxes should all be in the United States. I don't know why there's a YouTube thing here. It must be there for a reason. It must be in the U.S. Why is there a YouTube thing? Is that maybe for one of my shows? I think so. We'll delete that out of the way. 14, all short positions can only be held for a maximum of 3 years. I mean, if you have a short position, there's a clock, and you got to close it at some point. Your bet better be within the 3 years, or else your bet's over. 15, no exemption for Regulation S3 for offshore holding of shorts, meaning if you are someone like Citadel and your Cayman operation is doing all your short selling for you, well, you don't get to benefit from the taxes from that anymore. If I am not allowed, as an American, if I am not allowed to go work overseas and avoid paying tax in the U.S., you as a company should not be allowed to go overseas and avoid paying tax in the U.S. If they want those companies to be like U.S. citizens, right? Of course, Citizens United, then they have to start acting like it. 16, no expert market. None. It is what it is. Deal with it. And 17, no writing off fines as a tax deduction. So if you get slapped with a fine by the SEC because you did $11 billion in naked short selling and you now have to pay a $50 million fine, you can't take that $50 million fine and count it as a tax deduction. You pay that fine and you still pay taxes on your gross earnings. If you guys have any others, by all means, always throw them out at me. And I should post this again to the Reddit and see what people we want. Should I do it as a screenshot or should I do it as just copy and paste? Okay, go to Houston Wade, go to create post. There's a Bill of Rights. I did copy it, right? No, that's the YouTube channel again. I don't want to do that. Untitled document, that's a Bill of Rights. Schwam, bam, bloom, copy, splat, boom, shabam. Okay. Give your suggestions for more below. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Flare. It should be under stonks, right? Add. And post. Boop. Okay. Let that do its thing. Okay. Shaboom. Bam. Where was I? That was that was Jay Geyser. Eric, what was your prediction for GME in the coming month or two? I have a feeling we might do some crazy stuff in May and June again, just like we did last year. I'm not sure if the swaps will be at the same level, but I do think folks are realizing if they spend a bunch of money on options for one of those dates, that the gamma ramp might be kind of insane, especially if you're buying in the money options leading up to that point. If you're buying stuff, stock price at 28 bucks, buy a boatload of 25s, more than they're expecting. And then all of a sudden they're gonna be like, oh, I gotta go in the market and buy these, gamma ramp. And then you'll get the FOMO happening, and you'll get events like we did last year where the stock price can do really crazy things over 5 days. Then you just have to worry about Ryan Cohen diluting again. So Forza Productions, where do I find info on Pete Hegseth breaking communications protocol? I'm ex-military and it infuriates me to see this from anyone official, let alone top officials. It was all over the place yesterday. Hegseth second signal chat. Hegseth has second signal chat. Here's AP. Where he shared details of Yemen strike. This is the one he had his wife, his brother, and his lawyer on the chat with him, giving specifics about the vehicles used, the targets, when they were launching, and when they were expected to strike. Remember the first signal chat that got released because Goldberg from the Atlantic was somehow included in it. The Germans came out and said, oh, yeah, we've had that information the entire time. Like, we hacked Signal, and we've been reading all of it. We know it's there. So that means others have read it. And the fact that we've had so many MQ-9 drones shot down, they're like $33 million each. We've had 8 or 9 of them shot down. So we're looking at several $100 million in these drones. That these things fly at 50,000 feet. You can't see them naked eye. You can't hear them. The only way you know they're there is if you know their flight path and where they're going to be. And you take one of those shoulder-fired missiles, and you just launch it up there, and it takes them out. So, this is a huge security lapse. And people who should never have this information are getting this information. We send soldiers to Leavenworth for less than this. And this dude's supposed to be in charge of everyone? No, he's a freaking alky. Do you see him at the Easter egg roll where one sideburn was trimmed and the other wasn't, and he was just acting kind of belligerent and weird? That's this dude. He's a belligerent weirdo, and we're doomed. Doomed. Well, crud, there's a reset of the chat. Where am I going? I'm gonna go up to Frozen Productions, right? There's Frozen Productions. Also, I hear the waterfall could be happening soon with BBBY. Oh, please, just waterfall already. Just waterfall already. Just do it. Just freaking do it. The thoughts are that in order to maintain the nulls, especially with this butterfly thing that they might be trying to do, right? That has to be done within 2 years of submitting the declaration for it, which I believe was like June 26th or something. So they have to be ready to emerge by then. The plan man seems like he's doing a pretty good job of getting a lot of claims dismissed. There seems to be a lot of duplicate claims. So a lot of those are getting wiped out, which is just reducing the amount that has to be paid out to creditors. They reset the 2024 bonds into 2027 bonds. So if they pay the back interest and keep going there, they don't even have to worry about paying out the bonds that way. As like we emerge and we're just going to pay off all the bondholders, they can just maintain those bonds. So they just pay the back interest on them. And then they can worry about paying them back in 2027, 2034, and 2044. So that'd be really nice. Wouldn't it, Kitty? Wouldn't you like to, I don't know, be a golden crested Caligula cat? Wouldn't that work for you? Wouldn't it make you happy? There you go, yawn it up, buddy. Attending oneness, but her emails, Benghazi, Clinton Foundation, George Soros. Yeah. Like, accuse others of doing that of which you are guilty. It's basically what it comes down to. Front State Productions, Timberwolves will whoop the Lakers tonight, and I have to work. Too bad the Twins don't have owners like the Vikings or a GM like the Wolves. Well, the Mariners, I think, are taking on Boston right now, right? It's 1-1. Mariners 2 games up, over 500. So, there we go. So it's 1-1 the first. Oh, Bryce Miller's pitching for the Mariners today. 2 hits already given up. That's unlike him. Well, should be a good game. All right. J-Dog, Tesla was just 223 yesterday. What the hell happened? Lies. Conveniently timed lies. Yep. He's really good at being like, wow, those earnings were terrible, but guess what's coming? Something they'll never deliver. And everyone goes, oh boy. And they get all excited. It's been, 7 years since the new Roadster is supposed to be unveiled, and it has not happened. And then they're going to make a cheap, like, entry-level car, and they scrapped that for the Robo-Taxi, which isn't happening. The Cybertruck was delivered 4 years late and like $100,000 more than the original price they quoted everybody. So yeah, the failures to deliver on Tesla promises are quite abundant. So especially if they don't have the operating cash they once had, because they're burning through it like crazy, and they're going to lose out on their gravy train, which is their carbon credits, because they can't sell enough cars to make those worthwhile. It's gonna be interesting. Ron Rose saw something the other day with game simulators. Someone looking for business partners. Looks awesome. Too bad GME and AMC couldn't put something together, video gaming in one of the theaters. I always thought that if you're going to do some sort of cross, what they call it in like sitcoms, when the people from one sitcom come to the other, cross-pollinate, I don't know what to call it. Crossover. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. I always thought GameStop, with their cash, can buy up a lot of commercial real estate. So the strip malls that they're in probably can buy them cheap. So buy them up. You might as well become a landlord and have physical real property you can use as collateral on things. That way, you can double the size of your GameStop stores. People are like, why would you double the size of your GameStop stores? Because you make the other half your community, LAN, gaming, and tournament room. So you got a bunch of kids, just like you have Little League, just like you got Pee Wee football and, AAU basketball and all the gymnastics and things like that. You can, through your local parks district, sign your kid up for competitive gaming. It can be for Call of Duty or, I don't know all the games that people play these days. But you sign them up. And at 9 a.m. Saturday morning, instead of waking up and literally standing next to the soccer field watching a bunch of kids in a mob chase a soccer ball around, you can wake up at 9 a.m., take your kid to their gaming tournament where their team takes on another team, and then they eat orange slices at halftime just like they do everywhere else. And you can put them on a career towards professional gaming, right? But you have to enter and exit through the gift shop. Meaning that kid goes and he games and games and games. He sees the other kid over there just beat him with some fancy new mouse with, a different monitor, VR headset, whatever. And he's going to go, Dad, I really need that. If I don't have that, and you just got them hooked. These whiny little brats will milk their parents for everything they have, and you will have a boatload of sales every Saturday as these kids go passing in and out through your main store, demanding parts and cartridges and games and controllers and mice and keyboards and video cards and, plush toys and whatever else, right? So it'd be beautiful. On top of that, you then have championships not at the store. You do them at the AMC down the street on Saturday mornings. Right? Oh, it's the quarterfinals. It's these guys versus these guys. Meet us down at AMC and, be on the big screen and blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. But no one likes my vision for things. Alas. J-Dog says go Mariners. Indeed. Go Mariners indeed. Bottom second, still tied 1-1. Chris Taylor, rigged system, Tesla up 5% after hours. Huh? Exactly. Seagill, happy birthday. Sitting in 54 SVIX calls, primed for recovery. The feeling will be gone. The thrill will be gone. So it will happen eventually. Seagull, happy birthday. Oh, yeah, it's around Lexington Productions. We knew Tesla was going to find some way to rip after hours with crappy earnings of shenanigans. Bingo. Just trust them to do that. Their earnings will get worse and worse, and their promises will get bigger and bigger, and they'll continue to fail to deliver, but the dumbest people in the world will go, oh, I'm going to buy. And there you have it. Vernock, Lexington Productions. Yeah, with minus 70% net income and still up after hours is wild. Yep. Big Z Zerp, Houston. Please give me a description of how the derivative markets work. I don't understand parts of it. I mean, you have your regular derivatives, like your puts and calls. Those are derivatives, right? Those are bets for or against a company. If you're selling puts, right, you are basically saying, I bet the stock price is going to go up, and I'll have to buy all those puts, right? If you're selling calls, you're betting the stock price to go down. If you're buying calls, you're betting the stock price to go up. If you're buying puts, you're betting the stock price to go down. So it's a way for people to kind of bet on things and manage to negotiate hundreds of contracts at a time and hopefully get screaming deals on them when they do. Beyond that, other things in the derivatives market include weird stuff like swaps. And I don't even fully understand how half these swaps work, because every time I read about them, I learn about a different one. I'm like, what the hell is that? But you have things like equity swaps. Equity swaps might include, you're a hedge fund. You're legally not allowed to sell naked. But a market maker can. So you go to a market maker like Citadel. You say, hey, Citadel, I want to sell naked shares. Citadel says, well, you're not allowed to do that unless you pay me to do it for you. And so you give a bunch of money to Citadel. Citadel then naked shorts like crazy and then maintains sort of temporary ownership of that liability, and you pay them rent on it. That way you aren't directly responsible for it, but financially you sort of are. And you didn't short it, they shorted it for you, rented the ability to short. So you have weird things like that. You can have swaps that had to do with basically just paying someone to take on the liability. So it might be like, hey, weird LLC in Brazil, I have $84 billion in GameStop liability. I don't want to be holding this on my books. And so the company in Brazil goes, we'll hold it for you. You just pay us 8% a year. And you go, all right. So they take that liability, they park it over there, and you pay them 8% of $84 billion every year until the swap is up. And then you either find someone else to swap it with or you close it out. And usually what they're doing is they're just finding someone else to swap it with. And right now, because interest rates are getting so high, the 8% might be 10% or 12%. It might just get crazy at some point. I don't even know half of them. So there's a lot of sort of swaps that happen, I think, with liability on margin for these hedge funds in particular. Because you look at big banks, big investment banks like Goldman Sachs, and somehow Goldman Sachs has like hundreds of trillions of dollars in liability in some of these swaps and derivatives markets. And some of the derivatives are, CDOs, right? Credit defaults. And it could be like weird insurance that people took out as a bet, and, Goldman's just sort of guaranteeing it, right? They're like, oh yeah, this thing's not going to collapse. I'll take that bet. So someone gives them $1,000 betting these mortgages or whatever are going to fail. And Goldman's like, I'll sell this $1,000. I'll never have to pay out. And then with the payout, they're like, fuck, But those are still listed under liabilities. They're like stuffed off into the dark world of the, I don't know, the derivative underworld. There's a lot of them out there. Basically, you have your mainstay securities, which are stocks and bonds, and your derivatives are anything outside of those stocks and bonds that can be like tangential, parallel, inverse, etc. of those things. And that's your derivative market. Now you understand it about as well as I do. I'm sure there's a lot of folks at places like Schwab or JP Morgan or whatever who they were tutored under somebody about one particular type of derivative, and they mastered that one derivative, and you can ask them about another derivative and they'd be like, I never work with those, I don't know, because they're very specialized, and they just invent them out of thin air. Like when they had the mortgage-backed securities, which are a derivative of their own, right? You take these mortgages, huge bunches, and you like chop them up into pieces, and you take all those pieces and you send them off as sort of like an ETF type electronically traded fund of mortgage slices. There was no way to bet against them. And so the CDOs were invented specifically for sort of an inverse insurance against the value of those things. Basically saying like, hey, I bet this thing's going to fail. And if it does, you owe me the value of that fund. And because, mortgages never go down, this is easy money. You had folks take that bet and lose big on it. You also had folks like AIG insure them. And AIG, thinking, if one of these funds go down, bummer, we're out money, but we still have the premiums from all these other funds. They were not counting on every single solitary fund to fail at the same time. I've used the analogy before, but like, imagine if Geico, their actuaries, they look at the stats, look at the numbers, and think, okay, in any one event, we can lose X number of cars and we'll still make money. Like a hurricane comes through, wipes out some cars, or sell those at auction for being flooded, etc. Get this many accidents a day. Like, this is what we need our prices to be. Cool. But if all like 300 and something million cars get into a car accident all at the same time, Geico doesn't exist anymore. They do not account for the fact that there's a theoretical possibility that every single solitary car gets into a crash accident at the same time. You do not financially recover from that. That's where AIG was. AIG did not calculate that every single solitary mortgage-backed security would fail all at the same time, and that to pay out hundreds of billions of dollars in insurance claims on every single one of these things. They thought maybe if one fails there, one might fail there, whatever, right? Not 10,000 of them fail on the same day. So yeah, the derivatives market can include a lot of those things. And there you go. Now where am I? That was the crappy explanation of the derivatives market. How come I just lost my spot? Oh, there it was. Okay. Just Mammy says typical 2025 day, to be honest. Yeah. Latest in productions that Tesla puts after this rip probably can't hurt. I mean, the reality will settle in, and people will still realize they're not moving vehicles, and that there's parking lots all over the country full of unsold cars they can't move. Is it me or extra red today? Am I extra red? I don't know. It's sunny, but I haven't been out in the sun. I might be extra red. I don't know. This cat kept me awake, and I had to wake up early to stare at a graph all day. J-Dog, even when Elon loses, he still wins. Makes no sense. Yeah. Chill face. 2 months ago, I started doing exact opposite of what Houston says his plays are. Started with $100. Right now, I'm sitting on $70,000. Thank you, Houston. I'm just kidding. Jay Geyser, they signed Harvard letter by mistake. The chat GTP signed executive order regarding investors' Bill of Rights. Did they send a letter to get them to overreact? We leak the IBOR executive order. Well, yeah, they claim they're going after Harvard by mistake. After Harvard was like, we're suing everybody and we're going to win because we have all the lawyers and all the judges. And now they're realizing like, oh shit, none of our kids are ever going to be allowed to go to Harvard. So yeah, they're having a hissy now over that, but it's good. You know, Harvard, you know, they've got $60 billion endowment. They can afford the attorney's fees and afford to tell the government to go fuck themselves if it comes down to it. Harvard is what, 150 years older than the United States of America. So Harvard was here before the United States was here. So yeah, they've got some staying power. I wouldn't be too worried about that. And they're seeing what's happening at Columbia, where Columbia caved, and professors are like, I'm out, and they're leaving. And students are like, I'm transferring or not applying at all. If you're going to sell out the students, they're not going to go to your college. So, you know, if Columbia dies, then it dies. If it's kicked out of the Ivy League, if it loses everything, then you know what? I'm sure Donald Trump can go in there and buy the property at auction and build some condo towers for the tackiest people in Manhattan. Just in case, hoping for Tesla to crash. Galactic Moth says Tesla is pumped like a shitcoin. And on C-SPAN, Houston and company. West Pasco government property assessor here. Ask me anything. West Florida, not Pasco. Lol. I mean, it's like Pasco, Washington. Yes, and on C-SPAN, what's happening there in West Florida? Because like we had a huge hurricane hit Fort Myers in that area a couple years ago. We have a giant one hit in Tampa, and then a giant one hit up in the Panhandle. People, you know, after moving to Florida like crazy, now they're like, get me out of here. This is terrifying. So what is happening there? I had a friend in Tampa. Her home was on a river just outside Tampa, and when Milton went through, it flooded like past their second floor, and the house is just ruined. And like, oh well, got insurance money, we're rebuild, and now there's no one around who can rebuild. So I don't know what at least they have a second home in Utah, so they're spending all their time in Utah right now, waiting for their Florida home to like eventually find a contractor who can do work. But all the contractors don't have any workers, so I'm very curious what's going to happen there. This is before Houston. Department of Education is threatening to garnish your wages, garnish wages on defaulted loans. Can they raid your bank account? What about forced sell your portfolio? Is this how shorts win? I don't know anything about the portfolios. I'm sure they could probably get court orders to do those things, but it would likely go through trial. So if someone buys your debt collector buys your debt, and they come after you, they're gonna have to serve you and give you notification that they own that stuff, and you can go to court, and they're going to have to argue in front of that court the rhyme and reason behind all the things they're trying to do. Generally, they can't garnish your wages. I can't remember what the exact number is, but if at your job you earn, I think it's less than like $535 a week, they can't garnish anything in your wages. So if you earn above $535 a week, they can garnish that chunk of it. And there's loopholes. So you can take on like 4 jobs and work all those for basically $2,000 a month, part-time jobs, and they won't be able to automatically garnish any of the wages at those places. Theoretically, they could probably sell like your car out from under you if you drive a nice car. So if you have like, and by nice car, I mean a car worth over $5,000. So if you have like a late model car of some kind, they might get a court order to seize it and auction it off to pay for that debt. But it's gonna involve going to trial. If you respond and say bring it and go to a hearing, the chances are they're not going to want to deal with you, because you can do something simple like show me the promissory note. I want to see my signature on that promissory note and prove that you actually hold that debt. Oftentimes they won't be able to do it because the paperwork gets totally lost. They sell this stuff, but there's like the promissory notes are in some filing system from 4 lenders ago and whatnot. I had an issue where somebody stole my identity I'm not sure when they did it. I got served in 2019 for it, but somebody stole my identity and took out like a Dell credit card. It's like through Dell, and bought $10,000 in like computers and monitors and stuff. And I never knew about it until I got served by some collection agency who's like, hey, you haven't paid any of your debt. Now it's like $25,000 in late fees and blah, blah, blah. And so I responded like, let's go to court. Like I this isn't mine. And I filed a police report, right? Go to court. And they're like, yes, this man took out $10,000 in loans through this credit card. And I was like, okay, if you say I did that, then provide my signature. Where did I apply for this? And what address were these computers delivered to? And they were like, well, we don't have any of that. I was like, you bought my debt, but you don't have like where you shipped all these computers or my signature or anything? They're like, no. And the judge just tossed it. So that's, you can do that stuff. A lot of people got away with that during the housing collapse because their mortgages got sold so many times that when they went to court over foreclosure, they told, whoever claimed to own those loans, prove it, show me the promissory note. And a lot of times they could not, especially after Washington Mutual went down, because Washington Mutual went down. Chase took over, did huge, massive layoffs, but they laid off the people who were in charge of doing the payments on their paper storage facility, which was in Mexico. And eventually, that paper storage facility just shredded everything. So lots of deeds and promissory notes got shredded, and Chase had no ability to prove who owned the stuff. And a lot of times, Washington Mutual would sell the mortgages to third parties, other debt collection people and whatnot. But the paperwork would stay in that facility in Mexico. It never actually got transferred over. They would just be like, these ones are yours. You deal with it. And so you can fight it. You can like do stuff to tell them to suck it. You can apply for hardship. You can apply for forbearance. You can leave the country and just never come back, which, looks better and better every day at this point. But I think, there's 5.3 million people who are, I think, in default, another 7 million in delinquency, another 7 million top of that who are pretty close to being delinquent. So you're looking at appreciable portion of the adult population in the United States facing wage garnishment during a recession. That seems like really bad economics right there. So, personally, I think if everyone who ever took out a student loan got together and just said, I'm not paying them anymore, ever, then you got tens of millions of people across the United States who are like, screw you. Up your student loans. Then the federal government would be forced to do something about how we pay for college. They'd be forced to forgive this stuff. They'd be forced, you cannot have, 60 million Americans having their wages garnished. That is not how you run an economy, right? You have to figure out something else. So if everybody just all at once said, I'm not going to ever pay again, screw you, then we win. Congress would be forced to deal with it. And my guess is they'd be forced to forgive everyone's loans and figure out how to make college tuition free, or at least at public colleges and universities. So, I got to get going. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I don't think I'll be able to do a show on Thursday. It's my niece's birthday, and I promised to go meet everyone for lunch for her birthday. So I don't think I'll be able to do a show on Thursday, but we'll do one some point tomorrow. And we'll probably have more news, and you guys have more questions, and good times, right? Right, Fat Cat? Yeah, he agrees. Okay, Monkey Butt's on the floor. She agrees as well. All right, everybody. You guys have a great night, and I will catch you on the flip side. Shabam.